On the center stage face-off this evening, I first want to take up the aspect of secrecy. Kasab's execution shrouded in so much secrecy, the government keeping it very hush-hush. Some of the victims and the survivors coming out and saying, we should have known about this in advance. It would have given us a greater sense of closure to know that Kasab would hang, he would meet his fate, instead of just finding out through television that Kasab had indeed been hung. I'm joined at this time by Abhishek Manu Singhvi, National Spokesperson of the Congress Party. We also have with us KC Singh, former diplomat, expert on terrorism, Smriti Irani of the BJP, and we've got Air Vice Marshal Shehzad Chaudhry, leading defense analyst, joining us from Pakistan. I want to go across first to Abhishek Singhvi. You know, on the voice that's being heard by so many of the survivors and the victims saying that we should have known in advance, Dr. Singhvi, that Kasab was being hanged, there would have been a greater sense of closure instead of shrouding it in so much mystery.
I'm not at all clear what kind of argument or what kind of response this you are putting. I mean, you know, there is a system whereby you can find fault with everything. I don't think there is some kind of a mailing system or a broadcast system that you gleefully announce to everybody and intimate everybody that he is about to hang, and you complain if you are not told individually or collectively. I think the real point is being missed here in the process of everybody always wanting to find fault with something or the other. Real point is, and we should collectively understand that and recognize it and talk about it, irrespective of politics and political line. India is proud to have a system that, despite all its failings and criticism we subject it to every day, does work. It's a system which, unlike many of our neighboring countries, picks up this horrendous, extreme form of crime. There cannot be more horrendous than this, from a neighboring country into our country, virtually an attack by that country through its agents, etc., etc., subjects it to a patient, laborious court process, doesn't have a knee-jerk lynch mob mentality, does it in reasonable time, because it's easy to say, why not 1 year, why not 2 years, but if you see the documents and the papers, it's, I think, a creditable amount of time, takes it through 3 processes, one of a compulsory appeal, second of a further SLP to the Supreme Court, then goes through the process of a reprieve, pardon, commutation process, and finally, with complete due process to a fault, due process demands the form of, beyond the demands of justice and beyond what these killers gave to others, we then do something which is in accordance with law. I think that's a moment to be proud of, and you can hardly take away from that moment by saying, oh, I didn't get intimation, should have been more publicized, everything is wrong with the country, why did this happen, that happen.
You're essentially making the point that the government has shown its resolve. Smriti Irani, you know, people shouldn't try and find fault with procedure, because if it had been announced that the 21st at 7:30 in the morning Kasab will hang, there would have been all manner of opposition. Therefore, the government says the manner in which it proceeded with stealth should actually be hailed. It's an indication of the government's will and its resolve that they've actually gone out and hung Ajmal Kasab when many in the BJP and many naysayers thought the government wouldn't be able to do so.
This is not an issue to take political brownie points on. I would like to say that in a democracy, a mature government always at least takes the leader of opposition into confidence before taking a decision of this magnitude. Now, why the government failed to do so or did not want to do so is a question that the government can answer. But I think today that partial justice has been done to the victims of 26/11 and to the citizens of India. Today I not only pay homage to the memory and the martyrdom of Tukaram Omble, but I think that complete justice will be done the day those handlers who sent these 10 men to attack Indians across the Indian shores will be brought to justice by the Indian government. So I think that today only partial justice was done. Full closure will be only attained the day the Pakistani handlers are booked and brought to justice.
Mr. KC Singh, the government insisting that this is an indication of its resolve, its ability to act firmly and with purpose. Do you think that this indeed is unfair to pick fault with procedure? Because if this had been known in the public domain, it would have been very difficult for the government to carry out the execution of Ajmal Kasab.
This is a very surprising argument. Who in India would have opposed it? I don't know. It may have caused a problem with Pakistan or someone else. I can't imagine that. I don't think that would have been an issue, but certainly from purely a security point of view, if the government is making a security argument, that you didn't want a terrorist attack or terrorists to hit back. That is understandable. But otherwise, this kind of secrecy is not understandable. I don't think anybody in India would have opposed it. Secondly, what is of concern is not the steps they have taken. Let me just remind, I think sometimes public memory is short. From the beginning, there were two persons who were made co-conspirators who were let off because we didn't know the full range of the conspiracy till David Headley confessions came out. Then we realized that two persons had wrongly been attached in this case, whereas extensive reconnaissance had been done by David Headley, extending over 2 years. And then again, towards the end of the case, we got Abu Jundal from Saudi Arabia, who was sitting in the control room. So it's not that suddenly we got rid of him. We wouldn't have been able to confront him with Abu Jundal. In fact, that was probably one of the arguments that maybe we could have delayed it even further because all the other conspirators are still at large. So here is one person who was a vital evidence, who had evidentiary value. But now that we have Abu Jundal, probably Kasab was not required. So the same argument doesn't apply. But what is of concern to me is that there is some dissimulation on the part of government. Because I can't understand if a decision was taken in October and a further decision was taken by the President on the 8th of November, as we are told, and this had been conveyed to Maharashtra government, why was Rahman Malik invited? And if he was invited, why did we change it last minute, just about a day earlier? Now, does the left hand of the government not know what the right is doing? Or was that also to fool the world? I don't know. That is not the way it is done. So therefore, to me it appears that this decision has been taken in the last 72 hours. I don't think this is a decision.
Abhishek Singhvi, do you want to respond to the points that Ambassador KC Singh is making? Now you're making it seem as if it was part of a grand scheme of things, but this is actually a hurried decision. Till a couple of days ago, you were inviting and welcoming the Interior Minister of Pakistan.
Certainly, I do not wish to speculate in the same vein as Mr. Singh is doing, because I believe rightly that neither he nor I am privy to any information of the kind on which he is speculating. I think it's unfair to everyone to speculate in that manner. I would also want to add that these, as he knows better than anybody else and all of us know, are painstaking diplomatic efforts, and when and if you will get Abu Jandal is always in the realm of uncertainty. So the bird you have in hand, Kasab, was put through a not too swift but a very fair, comprehensive and complete trial. That is a good thing. We are lucky thereafter to have Abu Jindal, and this kind of conspiracy of course has many other co-conspirators, and we are going to get more and more of them as time goes by. That of course cannot be a reason for soft peddling an existing prized asset which you have and subject him into a fair trial.
Okay.
I have no doubt that similar proceedings will go on for the others, and I also have no doubt that in the last few months, the degree of responsiveness on trying to work on the other elements who are still outside our reach, who are in Pakistan and elsewhere, has been a little more positive.
Okay, I want to go across to Islamabad. Air Vice Marshal Shehzad Chaudhry is joining us on this broadcast.
We are doing well, I think, in working on that.
Air Marshal Chaudhry, now the question really is that Pakistan was asking for Kasab for a long time now. Kasab has now been executed. Does Pakistan view this as a blow to the trial that's going on inside Pakistan, or do you think Kasab's execution doesn't change what's happening with the trial in any way?
You know, as far as Kasab's execution is concerned, I think it's perhaps too much delayed in the sense that it could have happened immediately after. After all, he had been caught with a smoking gun, as they say, and therefore there was no reason. But anyway, you went through the process which was there, and you had him for all that period. I wish that more could have been gotten out of him in terms of bringing more evidence that could have brought in the people that we are alleging or charging in Pakistan. That wasn't done, and if there was his statement, or let's say his availability to the people who were investigating the 7 that are there in Pakistan, it could have perhaps added a lot more weight. But then India was not willing to bring him face to face with any of our people from Pakistan. But the good things, as Mr. Singhvi just mentioned to you, is that India and Pakistan, despite Bombay, have moved ahead. I think we're looking at good future ahead, looking at the fact that the Foreign Minister of India visited Pakistan very recently and I had a very successful visit. Also the fact that our own case here has also moved forward. And obviously, all the evidence that is available in India, whether Abu Jandal or whether whatever a Kasab has left behind, will be of great benefit if all of that is shared with us and in the manner that it becomes evidence, admissible evidence in the courts. So I think all in all, it's a positive indication, it's a positive move. But to see, would Kasab, a live Kasab would have added more in terms of giving us a greater sense of evidence acceptable in our courts? Perhaps that's a moot point and that can be discussed as we move on. I hope that we're still able to indict and then convict people that are there in Pakistan.
Okay, I want to take up the second issue we're discussing on the show this evening. This has to do with Pakistan's denial on 26/11 and whether the government of India is doing enough. Because, you know, the entire list, Air Marshal Chaudhary, that was given by our former Home Minister, Mr. Chidambaram, to Islamabad still hasn't been complied with, whether it is the audio recordings of Zakir Rahman Lakhvi and the other accused. The pace at which the case is moving in Pakistan is painstakingly slow, and the sense in India, the overwhelming, overriding sense is that this is not good enough. As Smriti Irani says, there can never be full closure till the time the likes of Hafiz Saeed roam free in your country, sir.
Yeah, I mean, look at Kasab. He was the one who had the gun in his hands. He had killed people there. You caught him with red-handedly with his gun in his hands,
Rahul.
and still it took you 4 years to execute him. I mean, look at the process that you have to follow. Now, you cannot expect Pakistan to jumpstart everything and go past each and every all of those steps to be able to just to satisfy India to hang a few people in Pakistan. I think there is a process. There's got to be admissible evidence. There is so many cases. You know, this is not the only case. Pakistan's own terrorists that are there in the western areas and are caught. So many of them, unfortunately, because of lack of admissibility of evidence, are not being able to be convicted. The Pakistani Parliament currently is looking at a new bill which will perhaps make it slightly more possible to admit electronic evidence, for example, signal tapping, voice recordings, etc., which will then become admissible in the courts. So yes, Pakistan has lacunas in our legal system, and those are being removed now. But the fact is that we are moving forward, we are progressing. As I think Mr. Singhvi said that very well, there are positive indications and there are positive movements which are leading towards the fact that we can net these people.
Smriti Irani wants to come in because you're making the point along with Dr. Singhvi that we are moving in the right direction. That it isn't as if Pakistan and India don't want to move, the system takes time. Smriti, do you buy that point? Do you accept the fact that Pakistan is doing what it can, or do you think India needs to put more pressure? Smriti.
No, there are 2-3 points I want to make.
Yes.
And with all due respect to your panelist, I want to say that a nation where Osama bin Laden was found, for that nation to book its own terrorist is something which will be difficult, I'm sure. It is difficult for people across the border to accept that evidence exists, evidence that has been put forth by the Indian government, evidence on which no positive steps have been taken. So while this diplomatic exchange of positive words is all well and good, I object to the fact that the panelist on your channel tonight says that despite Mumbai, not Bombay, sir, despite Mumbai, India and Pakistan are very well set to move along towards a better future. Please understand that the victims and the families of the victims of 26/11 are not ready to forget. Neither is the Indian populace. They will not forget it till Pakistani handlers, and please understand, many of us in this nation have heard those handlers indicate and instruct the boys across the Indian shores to shoot even a pregnant Jewish woman, all because she was Jewish. This nation shall not forget, shall not happily move along till those men sitting in Pakistan are brought to justice. Why Hafiz Saeed is still roaming free is a question posed to you by Rahul Kanwal, a question which is still unanswered. And as far as the government of India's will, Rahul, to book and bring terrorists to justice, let me say that while Kasab has been hanged, Afzal Guru is still awaiting that justice.
I'm coming to Afzal Guru separately, but I want to go across to Dr. Singhvi on the point that you're making, and also the point that Ambassador K.C. Singh is making, that the government of India isn't doing enough. You know, you've got on the one hand Ajmal Kasab, who's now been executed, but the manner in which you're also, for example, bringing Rahman Malik in, you know, other overtures are being planned. It doesn't seem that the government of India is putting adequate pressure on Pakistan, pressing them hard enough to act. That's what all of India is looking for, sir.
2 or 3 straight points, Rahul. If pressing hard means some concrete physical coercive action, I don't think anybody on this panel, anybody with the idea of reality can suggest that. If pressing hard by every which other means is concerned, diplomatically, economically, bilaterally, multilaterally is concerned, I don't think from 2008, if you see a whole series of steps, no other country, and India perhaps has not done it so much for any other issue as this issue. Number 3 is important. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You do have, this keeps cropping up. Let's not talk to the Interior Minister, not have him over, stop cultural exchanges, don't have a boundary dispute Sir Creek issue discussed, don't have Kashmir discussed, don't increase trade, don't have SAPTA or whatever preferential trade agreements you want to have, etc., etc. In a sense, they are valid points. But tell me, Rahul, which of your panelists are prepared to say that complete stoppage, sitting in sulk with Pakistan and not even touching or talking of unrelated issues is going to either improve this issue or improve your lot in those issues?
Let me get Ambassador KT Singh to respond to that. That's sitting in a sulk,
Rahul, let me finish. Rahul, 1 second. The fact that I do a little expanded trade, the fact that I have a different list of preferential items for Pakistan, the fact that I ease visa restrictions, in no manner ever, impliedly or otherwise, suggests that my absolutely unshakable, immovable conviction about this issue, about getting these handlers here, about getting these people here, getting them convicted in Pakistan, has changed. That is only a thinking. It doesn't change. But doing nothing on all fronts doesn't help you at all, doesn't help the country at all.
Sitting in a sulk doesn't help, says the Congress party, sir. Ambassador Singh?
You're asking me?
Yes, sir. You just heard Abhishek Singh say, what purpose is served if we just sit in a sulk?
I don't even think that's an argument anybody was making. The argument that I am making is that Rahman Malik was coming here. If he was coming here, we could have awaited and seen what is it that he was bringing. I believe President Zardari signed the visa agreement changes only yesterday. So which means they were preparing for the visit to the extent that President had ratified the visa exchange changes. Now, to have done this, they could have, if you have waited 4 years, you could wait hanging him till after the parliament session. What was the hurry now of 4 weeks? You could have waited till Rahman Malik came here, discussed it with him, seen if you can move on the visa issue. In the meanwhile, the Pakistani Parliamentary Committee has moved a resolution against most favored nation treatment. So is it therefore a calculation of Government of India that on both those issues, Pakistan was moving in the negative direction, not in the positive direction? Now, I am not guessing here. I am going on the basis of information available in the public domain. So I am not speculating what Mr. Singhvi was saying. We are trained to look at given material and judge human or a nation's behavior on that basis. And the behavior of Government of India indicates that some about turn has been taken in the last 72 hours, which seems to have taken, I'm sure, Pakistan by surprise.
Okay, I want to also bring in at this time K. Unnikrishnan. I'm coming back to you, Dr. Singhvi, in just a moment. He's Major Sandeep Unnikrishnan's father, and as we see this big debate rage over here on whether this is partial closure, whether Kasab should have been hung in such secrecy, as somebody who's seen this tragedy unfold at closer quarters than anybody else, Mr. Unnikrishnan, what do you want to tell the political class, especially the Congress government? Do you think by executing Kasab they've done the right thing, because there's a demand also for Kasab to have been kept live for the evidentiary value that he would have had?
Both are right. I have not listened to many of your arguments and things like that. But hanging Kasab was a necessity, and in my opinion, Government of India has done a very good job doing it very early in the morning without much publicity, or otherwise it should have been the other way. And there is no point in hanging Kasab in front of the media, just like we saw the 26/11 incident. This is a very model kind of punishment, and hanging Kasab was a necessity, and then we have been all the victims, including the security forces families, and everybody was vociferously requesting the President of India to take a quick decision, and the President of India has taken the nicest decision, and I appreciate him for that.
Do you think the government of India, sir, is putting adequate pressure on Pakistan to move against Hafiz Saeed and the other terror masterminds who still roam free in Pakistan? You know, no real action has been taken against them. As somebody who's seen this tragedy at close quarters, would you like the government of India to do more?
Unfortunately, we have a tricky enemy, and I don't understand what kind of pressure you are talking about. See, as far as I am concerned, see, I see a lot of action in that in a diplomatic way, and to my opinion, no, I don't know how we press still further. But one thing is that, and on the other hand, see, a country which is speaking in two voices, you know, saying that there are no perpetrators in Pakistan, and then we have time and again we have told that the many culprits wanted by India, they are hiding in Pakistan, and we have given evidences also. If a country is telling repeatedly that your proof was not enough, now see what the government of India will do first of all, and it is a diplomacy which is working. We are not declaring war on Pakistan, because the only thing which is left that we have to declare war on Pakistan, which is suicidal for every country.
You know, you're speaking with so much reason, so much balance and so much sense, unlike some of the shrill voices we've heard.
For people and not by a community or a country.
You know, Air Marshal Chaudhry, Pakistan hasn't even accepted that Kasab was a national of your country. I've got a quote over here from Shehnaz Shugra. She's spoken to Reuters. She says, even if Kasab, she's an aunt of Kasab, she says, even if Kasab did something wrong, we want his body. Even if he did something wrong, I'm proud that he taught the enemy a lesson in their own country. You know, that's the sense coming from a relative of Kasab. We've got her on record through Reuters, and your country doesn't even accept that he's a Pakistani national.
You know, my worry is that more educated people are using the word enemy now, rather than an uneducated girl who belongs to a very poor family or a poor village. I don't know, whatever she said. Secondly, it is an Islamic custom that once when someone dies, you hand the body over to the family for burial, but that's something that Pakistan actually accepted the fact after initial bit of denial or whatever you might call it, in the sense that they wanted their consular to go and actually meet up with Kasab, and I don't think that was able to be arranged.
No, but we've got a statement out from the Pakistan Foreign Office. There's a statement from the Pakistan Foreign Office debunking all of what India said, because India, I spoke to the External Affairs Minister, he said, we spoke to Pakistan, we also informed his relatives that the address that he'd given us, but Pakistan completely denied that Kasab has anything to do with your country.
Well, the point is that in the last 4 years, I don't know, I mean, are you talking about yesterday, today,
just now,
or
yes.
4 years back? I'm not sure of that.
Yes,
I'm not sure of that.
Yes.
I'm not sure of that. Why? I'm not aware of that. So let me not go into an area that I'm not familiar with. But simply let me just suggest to you that whatever is happening in Pakistan, whether in terms of the most favored nation or in terms of visas, the visa thing has been ratified by the President yesterday, in fact agreed to by the Cabinet and the Parliament, that is passed through all processes, and therefore our Interior Minister was supposed to take that to India and perhaps make a little bit of a positive indicator there as well. But I don't know whether that will happen now or not. As far as the most favored nation is concerned, our Foreign Minister and our Minister of Commerce has very clearly stated that on the 1st of January, Pakistan will be declaring India as the most favored nation. So I don't think, I don't know to disappoint KC Singh, but KC Singh may be happy to know that these positive signs continue. In fact, Mr. Singhvi has already reinforced those in his discussion earlier. Rather than, you know, getting brownie points that so and so needs to be satisfied, I am not going to accept somebody's. I'm simply, I mean, I don't know who's the lady who's on your panel. Why should I be listening to her? I mean, I have nothing to do with the state of Pakistan. I can only give you an opinion from my perspective within Pakistan, and she can do the same from India. I don't think she can satisfy me or I can satisfy her if you want to hold on to our positions. There has to be a greater sense of maturity in the way that we move forward.
Maturity is what the Air Marshal is asking for, by expecting the relatives to come and take the body of Pakistan to accept it. Would India be pushing it too far?
Rahul, you know what is a greater sense of maturity? Is for the government of Pakistan to finally acknowledge that Kasab was a citizen of Pakistan, instead of giving out statements to media personnel, they are not acknowledging
just
Kasab.
a minute, please. Just a minute.
So may I? No, I'm continuing. Since you don't speak for the state of Pakistan,
one by one.
since you don't speak for the state of Pakistan and I don't refer to you, kindly allow me to speak.
Before you make, no, I will not, because you're making a wrong statement. Because
I completely trust the statement given by Rahul Kavalbhai on headlines today that the Pakistani government has denied that Kasab is
one by
a
one,
citizen.
please. One by one.
Not at all for you. For you, sir, 2611 might be a molehill.
Go ahead.
For us, it
I'm
was a
not talking
big
about 2611. I'm talking about this particular. Let's not develop this thing beyond logic, for God's sake. No, not talk. Yeah, I'm talking about the statement that Rahul is referring to.
It is absolutely logical, sir.
Really?
It is absolutely logical for me to say that Pakistani government has not shown maturity by accepting that Kasab is a national. Pakistan government has once again shown its hypocrisy by saying that they have nothing to do with Kasab, while Kasabs aren't paid to him.
Luckily, more sensible people are there in India, more sensible voices exist, and there are more sensible people in government than what we hear on the media, unfortunately.
No, but Marshal, it's a fact that Islamabad hasn't officially acknowledged that Kasab is a Pakistani citizen. Dr. Singh,
I have no idea to comment on it.
But you must.
Since I don't know it,
Rahul, let me interject.
But Pakistan hasn't admitted, Marshal, that Kasab is a Pakistani citizen.
Rahul, I'm not sure. Rahul, I don't know about it. I cannot comment on it. I don't know about it.
No, you saw it.
How important is it, Dr. Singhvi, how important is it for Pakistan to admit that Kasab is a Pakistani national? That hasn't happened so much.
Okay.
Smriti, I'm coming to you. Let Dr. Singhvi speak first. Dr. Singhvi.
Yeah. I want to make two quick points, and I want to keep focusing on what we've been discussing. Point number one, I'm afraid I'm not able to quite make the connection with Mr. Singh is trying to make. He's a very experienced diplomat, and he might be meaning something else. As I heard him, I thought he meant that perhaps we should have postponed the hanging of Kasab so that the optics with Pakistan on visa or the visit which was scheduled of the Interior Minister would be better. Now, if that is what he meant, I don't agree with it at all, for the simple reason that we cannot possibly link a nod and a wink from Pakistan to the timing or the date of execution of Kasab. This has been the end of a judicial process, and the continuity of that process after the President's rejection has to lead to execution. On the contrary, if we had tried to manage into this execution the optics of a visit by Interior Minister or how good or bad Pakistan will feel, you'd have had a huge uproar in this country that we are reliant on Pakistan's permissive nod before we execute Kasab. And I think that would have meant horrible things in India, and nobody should do that.
Okay.
Number two, I think there is no doubt that what you, Rahul Kamal, are saying is factually undeniable. Pakistan has not factually ever admitted to Kasab's nationality. Equally, I don't see why we should get into a flutter about it, because think simply, how on earth can Pakistan accept it? They are never going to accept it. Pakistan's consistent stand is because of other incidents, several other incidents, which are always based on this remarkable fiction of non-state actors. So that has been the consistent practice of Pakistan, not from now, for many years, that if an incident happens, and remember, I hearken you back to Kargil, if an incident happens, God forbid, there should be deniability based on this complete myth, this fiction, that these are people who are not state actors. So I don't think at all we can expect it to accept.
Rahul,
but what we should be working towards is not that acceptance, but proper trial of whoever they have there, or handing over those people here.
Okay, one by one, all of our guests want to comment before I move on this debate.
No.
I want to go first to the Air Marshal in Pakistan. Smriti, I'm coming to you. Air Marshal Chaudhary.
Rahul.
Just one moment, Smriti.
Yeah, just a minute, ma'am, just a minute, please. Let me make a statement. I think we need to be careful once when you want to talk about this particular Mumbai incident, and I'm saying Mumbai, not Bombay. So let's be very clear about that. So it's Mumbai incident, and what we need to be clear about is, please do not attach the state of Pakistan to a group of 10 people that Pakistan knows went from its shores. Pakistan has accepted and acknowledged, and that is the basis of trying the 7 people who were indicted for this particular crime of theirs in our jails. So for God's sake, let's not twist words, let's not create hypes where none exist. We absolutely accept the fact that 10 people left the shores of Pakistan and did what they did in Mumbai. And therefore, that is why these 7 are under trial. Let's try and work together, bring evidence to Pakistan, bring evidence that is admissible so that we can try and convict these 7 people as well. That is the way to move forward.
Mr. Unikrishnan, how important is it for you for Pakistan to accept that Kasab is indeed a Pakistani national?
Look, like I said,
Mr. Unikrishnan, please.
If I had known, I would have.
Yeah.
Mr. Unikrishnan, how important is it for you for Pakistan to accept that Kasab is indeed a Pakistani national?
No, but I was listening to somebody who has been talking that they have admitted that all the 10 people have come from the Pakistani shore, and see, Kasab is one among them. I want to just mention one of the Pakistani panelists. I don't know the lone panelist because I am blindly seeing that. I am not seeing the television screen. See, he is telling that don't describe Pakistan as enemy. What should we describe Pakistan as? I would ask him. So, because a country which is talking every time in terms of see, the problem is that everybody we cannot continue relations with Pakistan every time. It's all the thing which is all face saving.
Air Marshal Chaudhary, you're saying
which Pakistan is making.
Show more maturity. But this is an important point you heard from Major Unikrishnan's father. If this basic admission doesn't happen in Pakistan, what greater maturity can you expect? Basic admission about the fact that Kasab is indeed a Pakistani national hasn't happened at the level of your government, and I'm not talking about you as an individual, sir.
Rahul, can I just make a statement once for all? Let me just suggest to you, unfortunately, though it comes from your, you're sort of saying this on your show, but trust me, nobody in Pakistan, including me, will believe what comes on Indian media in terms of quoting a statement from Pakistan. That's fact, and that is why nobody will comment on it, and I will not comment on it. I would like to see that in my hand to be able to say that yes, the Pakistani government, it's quite possible that what has been said is entirely different than how you are actually interpreting it. So I'm not going to make a statement.
No, but this was done by the Pakistani media. I've got a clip from Geo TV. They went into Kasab's village, they spoke to his father and relatives. So there needs to be an end to the denial that Pakistan seems to be in.
There is, can you please listen to me? There is a difference between a sister of Kasab making a statement and Pakistan's foreign secretary or a foreign office spokesman making a statement. For God's sake, don't mix the two. When you are talking logic, when you're talking argument in the sense of reasonable argument, you got to separate both the things.
Smriti Irani wants to respond to what you're saying, Air Marshal.
Air Marshal has defined logic in an absolute different way on your channel.
I'm not defining logic, ma'am. I'm telling you what.
Let me speak, Air Marshal. I'm not a Pakistani citizen. You can't bully me, sir. I'm across the border. You want to bully? Cross the border. Come face to face. Let me give you 10 answers that you deserve years ago. Let me just say this, Rahul, that while the Air Marshal might appreciate the Indian intelligent government which is playing cricket, which is doing cultural exchanges, but which stands while the Pakistani government does not move against Hafiz Saeed. The hypocrisy on behalf of the Pakistani panelist, with all due respect, on your channel tonight, is the very reason
I think this sort of a language needs to be denied.
Let me finish.
A lady should
Why
not
should
speak
it be
on those
denied?
terms.
It's the truth, sir.
I'm not a hypocrite.
The capacity to
You are a
accept
hypocrite.
the truth for what it is.
I think you are.
Logic is.
You're using
If
a language.
Kasabs
You are using a language which is
on Pakistani soil, logic says that the Pakistani government should also have.
Not a lady speak. If you wish to be
the lady spoke the way you are supposed to be spoken to.
Speak like a lady,
Logic says that if Kasabs, I am speaking like a lady, sir. I am speaking the truth. Possibly that is what is something which is difficult for you to digest. If Kasabs aren't accepts his existence on Pakistani soil,
okay.
If Kasabs aren't accepts his existence on Pakistani soil, logic says that the Pakistani government needs to wake up and spell the coffee and needs to understand that yes, Kasab was a Pakistani citizen, that yes, elements in the Pakistani government did send 10 boys across to kill Indians on 26/11. That is what logic is, Air Marshal. It's time to wake up
Mr.
and
Casey,
smell that coffee.
is it not important and fundamental to this whole 26/11 probe for Pakistan to at least publicly admit that Kasab came from within their territory? How significant is that denial in your eyes, sir? The fact that they don't want to admit that Kasab is a Pakistan.
Look, this denial has been there from day one, and if you remember, the other 9 bodies were available in 2008 because all 9 were killed. We only had captured 1 person. Now, at that stage also, Pakistan had refused to take those bodies. They said they don't belong to us. Now, between 2008 and 2012, we don't seem to have made any progress. And therefore, if there is, as Dr. Singhvi says, great understanding and progress in terms of understanding with Pakistan, then this issue should have been sorted out with Pakistan to start with. That's the limited point I'm making. That if the interior minister was coming and you're trying to improve relations and he was bringing a package, then why this conflict? Either you shouldn't have kept that visit and hang Kasab, or you could have done the other, which means you have taken a decision last minute. You have had 2 conflicting approaches, conflict with each other. This is a thing which should have been sorted out with Pakistan, that this time, please, because you have acknowledged that these people are Pakistanis, take this body. How will we hand over the body? Because after all, after Kargil, many years after Kargil, when Pakistan kept denying that any army personnel were there, they quietly took some bodies back from us when they realized that they were soldiers. And there was a hue and cry in Pakistan.
Okay. I'm out of time on this debate. I want to go across to Abhishek Singhvi for final comments. Dr. Singhvi, after Kasab's execution, is the government of India now expecting greater progress on the 26/11 trial in Pakistan? Do you think the wheels of justice will move, or is this just a one-off isolated case where the government of India has shown some resolve?
Rahul, let there be no doubt, and let me say this with all the emphasis at my command, the position of the government, I would go further and say the position of every Indian, every political party, every parliamentarian in India is the same. That as far as 26/11 is concerned, there is complete, absolute, uncompromising approach, collective approach, and that includes as number 1, that those people ideally should be handed over. Remember that. Ideally should be handed over for trial here, and we gave a very detailed fair trial to Kasab, and we can give it to others. But if you do not do it for notions of your own sovereignty, then you must make it a credible trial in your own country which can withstand international scrutiny and take action according to law and within a very limited time-bound schedule. That has been and will remain an uncompromising thing. And we are pushing at it not here but with other countries and other fora between us bilaterally. But obviously, it is the progress there cannot be and is not, and we have said so many times, up to the mark. Obviously, short of something else which we cannot do, this is dependent on Pakistan's own volition.
Okay, I'm going to leave it over there.
Higher, sometimes it is lower. But
I'm going to leave it over there. For the time being, Dr. Abhishek Singhvi, Smriti Irani, Ambassador K.C. Singh, and Air Vice Marshal Shehzad Chaudhary for joining me on the center stage face-off this evening. Thank you very much. Kasab is gone, but justice for 26/11 will not be done till the time Hafiz Saeed and the other perpetrators and masterminds of 26/11 roam free in Pakistan. That is the resolve the government in Islamabad needs to show for the people of India to believe that its intention is genuine.